And we're rolling. Hey y'all. Hey y'all. I was pretty excited for this one because I get to read, and if there is nothing that I know better, it's how to read a story. Like a bedtime story. For years, decades of bedtime story experience. I just turned on Instagram Live, so I'm say my prayer. Ang Namo, Gurudev Namo. Please let me speak this clearly. Yeah. This is like going back a few years for me. Like I'm gonna read stuff from 2013 and 2016, and I am going to basically show you that this is how I got into bookbinding. Zines are fantastic. Does anyone know what a zine is? And I think in correct grammar, it would be called a zine because the bossy E at the end of zine, like magazine, it's not proper, and that's okay because zines are anything but proper necessarily. So I always put one of these little cute notices that says it's fun and easy to make a zine. There you go, Instagram. So it's fun and easy to make a zine. It says, what is a zine? In essence, a self-published, limited-run publication. They are often made from paper, they're photocopied, they are created by a single person or many people, like you could have contributions, all those things, and they discuss any topic with any content, and it's made to enjoy and share and educate and amuse and inform, and it is seldom for profit. Zines aren't normally made to turn a dollar. I learned that back in the day. There's no right or wrong way to make a zine, and zines are for everybody. And what I do is when I write mail, I just like stick one of these in there. Oh man, I feel, yesterday I was like really feeling the intensity of the nodes shifting. Now they're in Sagittarius and Gemini, which Sagittarius and Gemini is kind of like a combination that I like. I normally get along with Geminis. Sagittarian me and Geminis can dance. And I find that we can match each other's excitement really easily. But I don't know what that means in the sky. Pretty much what I've gathered is that we need to make sure that we don't trust anyone's truth but our own, or that be weary and be careful that we're not just saying my truth is the only truth. That's what I've gathered so far. I did a little bit of research, just a tiny little bit. Let's see, I'm going to show you some examples of zines. I have some zine books that I used to put on my farmer's market table. One of my favorites is Stolen Sharpie Revolution. I bought this zine book over and over again. It is really good, and it's set up just like a zine. Well, you know, zines can be anything, but it definitely looks like a zine. It's a great book. I don't know if, yeah, it's by Alex Reck. I follow her on Instagram, them on Instagram. Let's see, make a zine. This one's by Microcosm Publishing. It's a good reference book too. There's lots of reference books on how to make zines. I'm kind of surprised. I kind of just would have assumed that it would stay underground and unpublished for a while. Here's, what you mean, what's a zine? This one's pretty cool. It's colored. This one's The Art of Making Zines and Mini Comics. Formats. It's good. It's a good one. What you mean? What's a zine? And then, oh, this is one of my favorite. A Girl's Guide to Taking Over the World. Writings from the Girl Zine Revolution. I have another zine that actually has Francesca LeBlanc as one of the editors or writers. of it, but I couldn't find it. I think it's on my bookshelf in my living room. Anyway, this one, it's mostly text. You guys, I loved getting ready for this live because I barely prepared. Like, literally, I was just making lunch for everyone, and then I grabbed my zine box that's like underneath all of my book shit, and then I was like, okay, like I haven't prepared what I'm gonna read. I'm gonna literally flip through and hope it lands on something that'll interest you. But I trust myself. It's all good. Let's see. Let me show you some other examples of zines since I have them here. Sorry, this is loud. These are all kind of like circa 2013, 14, 15. The Anarchist Survival Guide for Understanding Jaspato Swine Interrogation Mind Games. Stay free by shutting the F up. Rad Dad. You guys, I used to subscribe to Rad Dad. Well, Hip Mama and Rad Dad from the coast, from the Bay Area. There's another Rad Dad. Hi, honey. I'm just showing people examples of zines. Do you know what a zine is, my dear friend? Some of these are very political. There's an Occupy one. You guys, look. Anyone raise your hand if they remember the Occupy movement? I was just thinking about it this morning, actually. I was like, man, people are really forcing and pushing what just happens right now naturally. Like, Occupy. I don't know. Maybe not necessarily. Oh, no gods, no mattress. I forget the name of who writes this, but it's so chock full of good shit. Towards the destruction of schooling. Zine Symposium, Wild Fermentation, more Rad Dad. Arvilla says, I do, but I don't use them. I appreciate the work they do. This one's called, Who Needs the NSA When We Have Facebook? U.S. political prisoners in California. Let's just grab some more. The Pie Story, what it's really like to be a private investigator. Chickeny, this is all about raising chickens. Heather's Comprehensive Guide to Bend and Central Oregon for East Coast vegan hitchhikers on a budget. Dear bike thief, you took my bike in the night on Thursday. This made me really sad because someone I love made that for me to tell me that they love me too. I'm not mad, just disappointed. Phone me and we can talk about trades. Jordan. The Juniper Issue with Simplicity. And I realized I wasn't reading the title of that. This one's called Basic Paper Airplane, A Very Brief History of the Typewriter. Hi, David! My daughter just got on the call. I love you so much. Destined to Kill, Border Policy and How to Change It. So let me just be clear. A lot of these are political. I have a lot of perzines too. What a perzine, like P-E-R-Z-I-N-E, that's basically like you publish a diary or your book of poetry or your journal. That's what a perzine is. More vocabulary. A distro, D-I-S-T-R-O. That's a person or a group of people that distribute zines or they hold stock of zines to sell for you. So like think not necessarily a publisher, but like a publishing house that holds copies of your zines so they can sell them through their audience, you know, stuff and things. This one's Smash Pacifism, a critical analysis of Gandhi and King. I've never read this one. Loco Pantaloons. Ova Achiever, excerpts from my ongoing journey through baby making science. Muscle Tea Summer. All of those. Accomplices, not allies. That one doesn't have a title. As You Were, a punk comic anthology. So as you can see, We're not even in zines anymore. As you can see, you can make a zine about anything. And honestly, my kids, look, this one literally says zines, knitting, zines, knitting. So my kids have made zines. I remember when I took Devin to Portland Zine Symposium, or maybe it was San Francisco Zine Fest for my birthday that one year. Anyway, there was this make your own zine table where like they expected kids to gather around. But Devin did, and she went in there and she made zines so quickly and so professionally that she went around and shared and traded people for their zines. Like she came back with a goodie bag that was like so generous, and I was just so happy with all the people that would trade her zine that she just put together. She's talented though, for sure. Okay, I'll stop talking about you. This one's really cool. This one, let's see, it's called Stardust, and I'm pretty sure there was sand in here or glitter, but let's see. You can get creative with your zines. All that. Yes. I didn't actually, like I said, I didn't quite prepare for this because honestly, you guys, I don't want to make these Instagram lives like a work. I don't want it to be hard. If it's hard, then I don't want to do it. And not necessarily with everything, that sounded bad. But I just mean like with my business and with marketing and everything, I just don't want it. If I'm miserable doing it, it's not sustainable. That's what I meant. So I know I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and I know that it's going to be definitely like a poetic, visually pleasing, beautiful YouTube channel. But for now, it's just Instagram lives because I got lots of things going on, you know? Let me get some zines that I wrote. One of my first zines was called The Beginner's Book of Awesome Affirmations. And on Etsy, it was my top seller. I don't sell that one necessarily anymore, but I would. That one is golden. That one just basically is like a zine full of affirmations, and it explains to people what affirmations are, and then it kind of promotes like repeating affirmations like mantra. So that was fun. It was like, I deserve love. I completely love and accept myself. I am fantastic. I have unique qualities about myself that no one else has. It was all kind of like that. Let's see. And then I came out with my main line. This is my most colorful one. I went to a print shop and I decided that it was going to be in color. So it's called How to Save Your Life for Later. I only made one zine of this, even though this was going to be like my main zine that I was going to like come out with new ones. And I still might. I still resonate with the lemon. If you can tell, the lemon is actually the sunshine. I just think lemons clean all kinds of shit. And I believe that it's a good detox agent. And me and lemon water go way back. So I didn't actually like this zine after I wrote it. And the reason is because as I grew up, I started to realize that what I really wanted was someone to hear me, but like this zine to me comes out as like me giving advice. And I was a very, very opinionated vegan when I wrote this zine. And I realized later that not everyone's the same, you know, not everyone's bodies are the same. I was actually so vegan that I decided that I was kind of a fruitarian like most of the time. Like I would eat fruit all day long, like only fruit. And then I had like a big salad with dinner, and I just thought raw was law, basically. And anything less than raw was like not good enough. And so I really decided that that wasn't something that I wanted to promote anymore. Not because I don't believe in like, you know, just veganism in general. I do. But I don't necessarily think that it's everyone's answer. So if you love veganism, you might like this, but I'm not selling this anymore. Zina, my darling, I need you to leave so I can finish doing this. Give me a hug. Okay. I just made food before I came in here, though. Give me a hug.
Actually, I need help to do lemonade.
Okay, I'll make it as soon as I'm done.
See, Mom.
Okay, now go. Shut the door when you leave.
Look, my toenails and fingers are golden. Blue.
I already saw that this morning.
Love you.
I love you too. Let's see. I'm gonna flip through and find something to read. Okay. There is the first page. Trails don't blaze themselves. I'm showing Instagram and YouTube. So I'm finally sitting down to write this. Well, not really this. I don't even know what this is. It's an introduction, possibly. It's this brave attempt at defeating resistance, most likely. I recently read The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. In the book, he speaks that resistance is the single most evil thing holding us back from doing exactly what we need to do. It is the thing keeping us from carrying out our instinctual need for creative expression. This is not a review of the book, however. It's good, though. So I will finally offer you a quote and move on. Most of us have two lives, the life we live and the unlived life within us. And between the two stands resistance. Wait, did you know this is a zine you're holding? I wrote and glued and photocopied this beauty to life. I made it. This is my first attempt at typing an introduction. I'm nervous and excited. Nice to meet you. I'm Jess Freedom. There it is. I have a personal Instagram account, you guys. If I know you, I'll accept your friend request. Any subject, any topic, your opinions and your art roams free. Even typos and grammatical errors, gasp, are an A-okay when you create your own zine. Let me tell you why. You have no one to answer to. No time to clock in. No editor but yourself, or unless you choose one. No publisher, just you and me, the writer. People create zines for many reasons. Why publish a zine? To see your work in print? To share what you created, to encourage others to be creative, to find and connect with other people who have similar interests, to get mail. That's actually one of my favorite parts. I'm a big mail person. Okay, to make friends, to create the publication you always wished existed. That's a good one. That, I'll tell you, that's another one. That's why I wrote Have Kids Still Will Travel. Because I wanted someone, I'll show you in a minute. Okay. To teach yourself something new, to get something off your chest, to make yourself a better writer or artist. The reasons for publishing a zine are as diverse and unique as the individuals who create zines. Let's see, it says, I can't speak Spanish, and I feel like so much of my life makes sense now that I know that I'm not truly white. I met my dad when I was like almost 30, and he is the reason for my dark skin and my last name, and I didn't know him for most of my life. Here's a cherry vanilla dreamy smoothie. Dates, bananas, cherries, vanilla. Oh my God, so good. This is some raw vegan propaganda. Here's another smoothie. There's me being angry about legislation. It says, California, why you no vote on Prop 37? What the hell? The hell's wrong with you? Okay, Netflix movie review haiku. So each of these were Netflix titles that I wrote a haiku about. This one's called Rid of Me. Sometime you may need to wipe your period blood across someone's face. Orange is the New Black, season 1, not a movie. That's just what I need. Please don't let me get absorbed into good dramas. Sassy Pants, 2012. That's right, baby girl. Your daddy is a gay princess. She finds her own voice. I'm laughing at these because I think they're good. Sometimes, Jesus Henry Christ, Toni Collette, yep. Sometimes families are like Pandora's box. Confetti dysfunction. Little Birds, 2011. The ocean gives us new experience to grow. The ocean takes us. It's a comic. It says, Jess, get out of bed. No. Ow. Here's about PTSD and emotional detoxing. I think I'm going to read that one. Okay. I remember the first time you looked up at me so clearly. And since that realization, I've never forgotten how you tower above. With you, I've never felt so tall. You remind me to dream bigger and breathe, and without making me feel like a child. You're kind to offer your hand when I'm sheepish. The salty and the sweet. Oh, it says you're the salty and the sweet, the forward swing and the falling back, the seed and the harvest. You're the climb and the destination, like an avalanche or a heartache. Every time I look at you, I know I made you. We connect like a knot, firmly fitting into each other's flaws and filling up the spaces we lack in between. I'd follow you anywhere. If you just said, let's go. It says, your shoulders, the woods, our home, my mirror. I crave loving you. Loving you is vowing to love myself. I tell you life is magic, but you already know, and that's where we meet. Forever, your miss. A love poem to my guy. Another smoothie recipe, and then a rant about TV and how people watch a fuck ton of TV. And then I missed a page in the back, which I always regretted because I was like, wow, I didn't fucking print that page. That one. That's good. Let's see, what else? Here is the one I was just talking about. Have kid, still will travel. Those are my little drawings. Okay, table of contents. I've read this one over and over again to public people, actually. This is the one I wished always existed. Because, let's see. When I decided to travel, I didn't have a car. And my home life was not too peaceful. And I basically decided, and it feels crazy because I wouldn't do it again. There's like no way that I would want to hitchhike with my 7-year-old and my dog across the country. But I did in the past, and I wouldn't do it again. I wrote about it, so here we go. This is a tale of one indigenous mama who found her magical self brave enough to hitchhike across the country with her loyal and trusted terrier mutt and a whimsical, sweet femme mini person. That's Maud, my salty dog. And that's Lo, the future. And that's me. The day when we were dropped off by Mr. at an on-ramp in Anderson, California, it was a goodbye that stung like the smack of water when you jump in. It was sorrowful. I knew it would be hard to be absent from all of it. Him, home. I was leaving my home for this journey, whatever that entailed. I had destination points along our way, and then there were plans that would be inevitably produced by the experience itself. There were people I wanted to see that I haven't seen in many moons or many years. And one I've never met. That was my dad, my real dad. See, the leaving part was intuitive. It felt like resisting food, resisting sustenance not to go. It was hard to not go, so I went. I don't believe in holding back in what you desire in life because of fear. I value a brighter situation, and I'm not afraid of looking for a way past obstacles. With what I had, I left. I pushed off and floated wherever the current would take me. I figured we would get a ride fairly quickly. We consisted of a smiling me girl with colorful dreadlocks and a kindergartner who could set anyone's heart ablaze and a sweet dog with a scarf. We all had packs. Mine was insanely heavy. Clothes, books, all the writing equipment I would shove inside of the compartments. Lowe's was her own to self-manage. She would bring anything as long as she could fit it inside the small backpack, and she had. Maud's dog pack held food, dehydrated bananas and other fruit, along with a cutting board and knife, nuts, bars. I had a knife on my belt and mace in my pocket. I was manifesting the best. I was depending on the kindness and the trust of others. I was determined with the fierceness of a falcon. I had our compass pointed to the flatlands of Oklahoma, a 1,750-ish mile journey by thumb with little one and my dog. The mission, though it may be radical and unconventional, was to get there with little money, with the resources I had, within a week and unharmed. Maybe I'd even read a zine about it. I had my talents, my tolerance, my courage, my breath, my manifestation magic, and my indestructible faith that we would get there unscathed and all the wiser. Experience would grant me the ability to become even more adaptable than I had been prior to the journey, so I considered this a learning experience. It was a living experience. So there we were. The sun beat down, and Lo found shelter with Maud behind me under the trees. You couldn't see her when you passed by like I had expected to. Hour after hour, we watched car by car drive by us. I had a sign that asked for Ride South, I-5 to Sacramento. With excited and nervous smiles, I was sweating everywhere. Looks of sympathy were often received along with donations of money, water bottles, fast food, and widely given concern. One person was sitting there giving us water, and some other car yelled, "Dumbass!" out the window. It hit me then that people were feeling very sympathetic for us, but not to the point of trusting us in their car. And another thought, I was to take the position of a woman down on her luck, not a nomadic mama with village mentality asking for a community helping hand. In the fear-mongered reality of locked doors, irrefutable threats of danger, and the price of living, crime, and homelessness, I was no more than a questionable stranger. That's what most seemed to stand out to me in people's sympathies. A woman with kids gave us a family-sized bag of carrots, hummus, both organic, creamy, dreamy hummus. I thanked the burgers, as much as we could eat for dinner, and still I smiled and thanked the burgers and fries, usually feeding them to Maud. I told Lo that they were too salty and our bodies needed all the water we could to reserve. We had collected a lot of water bottles as the sun went down, and we had a ride promised that went all the way to Sacramento by a woman whose friend was getting off of work and heading home that way. So I turned down a ride that wasn't going as far and continued waiting. One man in a pickup stopped to give me a ride. And when I told him that I had a kid and a dog, he told me that he was fucked up, man, and drove away. The ride never showed. One wild guy told me that the woman who had promised the ride was a loony. Really? Did that woman really mean what she said about the ride, or was she delusional and just feeding me shit? That night came, and we slept between that ramp and the highway, under the trees. I rolled out our sleeping bags onto the tarp that I just wrote. Please do not disturb our temporary home. We are traveling through and mean no harm. We are all one human family. Let's take care of each other. Love and thanks. Excuse me. And then we all left our gear there to find a payphone and maybe an internet connection. Walking down the street without gear felt great. My shoulders and back drank the cool evening breeze. I got a hold of Mister and told him we were still there. We returned to get settled into our bags under the canopy of trees as it became dark. It was impossible for me to sleep. The accelerating cars on the on-ramp to our left vroomed by, and the trucks with trailers roared past us from the highway above on our right. Here is where I learned my lesson on sleeping too close to the road noise. In addition, there were terrible cats or squirrels or birds or some shit jumping from branch to branch and scratching and dropping leaves everywhere. It was hot, but we were doing it. We were adventurers. Defying the rules of society, we didn't need to be told how to live and what we needed to get there. We existed outside of the box. This was survival inside of a concrete jungle in a sick, sad civilization. We lived to live. A car pulled up from behind the trees. I woke, as if I was even asleep, to notice it stop, mama protective mode, and I waited until they left to kind of rest my head and doze off again. And then a call on my phone. Someone had picked up Maud, my dog. I called them back and asked them to please return her to the ramp in which she was found. They were confused suburban kids. I walked out of the trees onto the highway ramp barefoot and saw that Maud was quite the happy girl dog. She had gotten a ride in the middle of the night, and we humans had to wait all day long. Easier for a dog to get a ride than a mama and a baby. It's crazy. I'm skipping through. Oh, this one's fun to read. Okay. Day 5. I was the first one to wake up, and so I packed up things and gathered trash. I talked to Mister on the phone and gave myself a baby wipe bath, and brushed my teeth with water. I sat on the picnic table facing the tent and pleaded with Lo and Andrew's sleeping bodies to wake up. I feel so eager in the mornings. The hurry up and wait of hitchhiking will do it to you. And beating that daytime heat, that's survival. The unknown was always calling, and it was always needing immediate attention. Eventually, they woke up and we packed up. Groggy, without many subtleties, I needed a sign and a good place to thumb it. Andrew drove us to the truck stop with a side road, a stop sign, and a sidewalk. I made a 12-pack box sign. Hugs were exchanged, and that was it. There we were again. Need ride. I-40 East to Oklahoma. Friendly people only. I really did write that on my sign. Since we were positioned on the sidewalk down from a stop sign, lots of cars and truckers had to wait for a vehicle in front of them to stop, which put us in plain view with time to look. The wind in Tehachapi is wicked, but my spirits were in the air like a kite, and I jumped around and smiled with all my teeth and ribbons at the vehicles passing by. Some trucker gave us a can of sardines, a package of crackers. We were also given beanies and weenies, plenty of money, about $80, and 100 stares. For context, I wasn't asking for money. You'll see. We even caused an accident here. A trucker decided to back up from the stop sign in order to pick us up. He wasn't aware that another car was parked behind him, and he backed right into the car. He pushed it about 5 feet, too. It's been a while since I read this. Oh my God. Okay, and while I'm running ahead to his cab, jumping up and down and yelling for him to stop, he just keeps backing up into the person behind him. And a terrible person it was. A butch, broad native woman with a Brooklyn attitude starts screaming, "Who the fuck backs up to a stop sign, motherfucker? What the fuck?" She's so bad. We're at the 30-minute mark, you guys. Okay. She does. She says that. And then our ride, he's an 80s jean and tourist shirt wearing 50-something white guy, tells her to calm down, ma'am. I've got insurance. You don't have to be so mad. And the woman picks up her phone and tells him she's calling the cops. He quickly throws up his arms, loses his temper, and tells her to call him then. All the meanwhile, we're sitting perfectly parallel to the scene, like right beside them arguing. Oh my God. And what is he going to tell the cop? What's he going to tell his boss? I'm feeling guilty up to my elbows. And then he comes back and she cusses him some more. Her shiny orange front end is smashed in. Her headlights are all cracked and broken and the hood is dented upwards. And when she's in her glove box, the driver, his name's Mitch, comes over to us and softly says, "When I get this mess figured out, I'll give you a ride." I apologize for him. The line of cars and trucks behind the two is starting to pile up. Soon the police car pulls between the two. He writes some things down and listens to both sides. I try not to make eye contact. We're still sitting there. And I concentrate on my dried banana that I was chewing like fruit leather. I affirm calm, saved thoughts. I touch Lo and Maud, but I don't move because this is a really good spot. The officer instructs the disgruntled pair to move past the stop sign around the corner, and they do. Meanwhile, I fly my sign again while they're down the road. Excuse me. I don't see when they're gone. It's just that they weren't there anymore. I figured our ride was discouraged. I can understand that. But then the cop came back. He pulled up right in front of us three, and like a cat, my claws were tensed and my hair stood. I thought about this happening, and it was really more of a threat to me than getting robbed, really. You can't see, that's the cop with the magnifying glass looking at me. I don't see when they're, turn the page, excuse me. He asked what we were doing, and I told him we were passing through and needed a ride east on I-40, like my sign said, obviously. After looking around, he started in with questioning. So how long have you been in town? Just a while. So you're only asking for a ride? Yes. Is this your child? Yes. Are you in some kind of separation or divorce? And this is where I arched my back and I hissed, Sir, is there something you need to know from my business? What do you need to know? I galloped into that statement, and by the look on his face, he didn't take it too kindly, so I shrunk. Ma'am, I need to see your license. Oh, I fumbled. Yeah, sure. I fished it out and handed it over. He went back to the car and I sat down. Lo asked if we were okay. I was worried. Yeah, we're fine. He's probably just checking on you. When he finally came back, he told me about the panhandling laws in the city and told me to be careful, and if I have any problems, to call the department. I was relieved. I thanked him and watched him drive off. I waited until he was down the road before I picked up my sign. Almost immediately, Mitch, the trucker from earlier, pulled back in front of us. I didn't even ask him where he was going. The accident distracted it at all. I hoisted my pack up the tall steps of the passenger door and helped Maud and Lo get in. We sat real tall over all the cars. We had another ride and we're heading to I-40 out of California and into Arizona, a milestone that meant we were halfway and hopefully the rides will be easier from now on. That's all I'm going to read for that now because a little bit long. Oh, darling, let me read a poem. Okay, I'll read a poem. This isn't published, it's just something that I kind of like doodled. Hi, there's my sister. Often, our own search for wholeness exhausts us. It is then we open our vulnerable hearts and ask for a mirror that tells us we're not held down. Our life is a river. We are fierce. Devastation cannot touch you without your will. It is important. While searching for your answers, you hold the mirror for others to tell them that they are indestructible. And together, we will lift each hero back to their feet. Let's see what else I got. This is, I drew this one night. Basically, I thought I was having like a Kundalini rising breakdown. I didn't understand how my body was moving or why, or it just felt like there were eruptions everywhere in my body. So I wrote this poem about it. I like my cute soft belly that I drew and my big legs because that's me. My body is in the posture of a cringe you make before someone hits you. A lifelong patchwork project, quilts, hills and valleys of stitching on my thighs, except it was ripped out for the new strip mall. They said the space wasn't being used before, and they asked the value and decided to move in. I thought my hip was sore, but really it was my ribs. My spine found me in a pose where I thought center was 2 centimeters left, but I looked down at my feet and I stared up at the sun, and on the ground I was again. Every day I wear pain on the body. Some days I wear the pain on my face, so you can never confuse me. Don't accuse me of being strong. Give me your burden, I'll eat it all up and hold it inside of me until I can figure it out for the both of us. My body is a cargo ship of problems not dealt with. I port and I unload some of them onto you. Please hold this for me. Didn't you ask me to be here? Now I Oh, excuse me. Now to unlock my hip, or this cargo ship is going down with all the problems I did not have time to face. Meanwhile, my spine is pacing around, seeking center, and the strip mall, ignoring how things stand, is business as usual. My first thought is like, that's pre-corona. The strip malls got shut down in real life. Mama create. Oh, hi, friends. Hi, friends. Thank you. She says she loves that. Okay, let's see, time is 40 minutes. I'm just gonna read a little bit more from my very latest zine that is called Baby Z, the last baby of the alphabet. This one was gonna be called Me and Mister's Baby, but I changed it. I wanna show to you guys, nothing has to be perfect, by the way. The Z on this was cut off and I didn't check it before I left. I was just like, yeah, print them, I'm going to Portland, it's cool, whatever. And the Z was cut off and it took me like anywhere from 8 hours to 8 years. No, I'm just joking. It took me a long time to be like, it's not perfect, but it's okay. That, and I find typos in my zines. Hopefully I'm a little older, wiser now that I won't print so many typos. Hopefully. I might be like, this is good enough. Challenge that. Okay. So this is about my last pregnancy. I had a baby when I was 20, and then I had 2 stepkids when I was like 24. I had 2 stepkids. And then I just a few years ago in 2014, I had Zina, baby Z, the last baby of the alphabet. I'm going to show you up close the image. That's Mr. and me and Z. Anyway, my daughter's name, Zina, it sounds very much like zine. I didn't realize I was doing that at first. And it's not spelled with an X. So that would be copyright infringement. I'm just joking. I don't know what to read of this. Do you guys want to hear like the birth story, or do you want to hear like how sick I was? For this baby, I was sick the whole time. 10 months of morning sickness. It was awful. Anyone want to weigh in? Do you want to hear the beginning or the end? I can't really tell who's here. I mean, it says like a number, but I don't know who you are. Who's here? You guys, soon, I'm going to have so many people here, I'm not going to be able to read the comments. Like all my mentors, they have to scroll and stuff. I'll read the beginning. Well, I'll read some of the beginning and then I'll skip it. The day I went into summer 2016, by the way. The day I went into CVS and bought a pair of off-brand pregnancy tests was preceded by the day Mr. and I talked for a long, long time about the chance that we made another human. It's 2013. It's the beginning of winter. I've lost my period. 4 days it's been gone since scheduled to arrive home. I asked my friends. I asked my friend Muffino if she'd seen it. She had not, but told me not to lose hope. I asked my friend Orange if she'd gotten hers. She had, which was bad news since we were synced. I told Mister about my missing period too, and that's why we spent a long, long time talking that night. See, I decided with the last 2 years that I was really, really tired of taking birth control, and that's how there's been few adult relationships in my life that have required sperm protection throughout. And here I was, in the spermy predicament yet again. And then I go to talk about the birth control. It's a little informational. I talk about the fertility awareness method, and I talk about like checking your cervical fluid and how the phases of the moon all go in together. You can do that research on your own, so I don't really want to read it. Okay, so I don't know which one to read. 5 weeks. Whoop, you're pregnant. Prepare to raise another tiny human. Eventually we tell our older kids and they're shocked. The girls start asking all sorts of questions and planning out the baby's future. We tell our family. The girls whisper things I don't understand and maybe I don't want to know. I flip coins around my emotions, trying to figure out if I'm happy or miserable about this reality. I don't have long to think because my body starts that she zombie state that flattens any expecting mother to a cozy surface and passes her out like chloroform. Your baby is the size of a poppy seed. Then I talk about, I'll sell this zine, by the way, if you guys want to buy this zine. I have so many copies of my last pregnancy zine. Week 19. Today we traveled to the city and met with codename Midwife, a midwife that's rumored to take low-income state insurance. I got her name from the many women that I called during my search. She's been practicing for 20-something years. The catch is that we still have to travel an hour to the city to deliver baby in Midwife's home birthing suite. She invited us into her lovely house and showed us around what could be our own little birthing apartment. Very clean, shiny, high-back clawfoot tub, gold accents, fresh, clean carpet in the birthing suite that had a corner table bed for bringing babies on. Later, I would imagine toting my sleeping bag and my cold sheet and my Prego pant pillow as a substitute for home. This certainly wasn't our home. She told me of all of our many births that have occurred here and outside here, and after you birth, you can spend time bonding in this bedroom here. We sat on the sitting room once more to discuss the legalities of insurance. That's boring me. I don't want to read it. This zine's not boring. I just don't know what's the best to share with you. Let's go to the purge day. That's some wonderfully vulnerable imagery there. The purge day. This is the day of my due date where I got completely depressed. Like full on depression in one day. I feel like in hindsight I had to purge a lot of feelings to go into birth, for sure. Okay. I found myself calling this day the Purge Day, and it's comparable as the gruesome movie The Purge, or what I would imagine would feel like to watch that movie, uncomfortable and threatening and scary, like murder and death can be. I've never actually seen the movie, I'm just using my imagination. All day long of my due date, I laid in bed. I mean, that can be normal if I'm not feeling good, but this wasn't normal. This day, this purge day, I felt through every nasty, unbridled emotion I had in me until I was empty of hunger, emotion, tears, and resistance. I absolutely would not get out of bed. I didn't want to eat or talk to anyone. I recall forcing myself into getting up and starting bacon for these bacon-eating people, which included me sometimes, until I was talked to and almost exploded with rage, and I left the bacon where it sat and crawled back under the blankets of my bed. Some people were asking, who was cooking the bacon? Hunger in their voice. I could hear them from my bed. I was angry. I was throwing a fit. I was furious at bacon. I was pissed off that she, Z, hadn't came out yet. I was pissed that I couldn't control anything. I was floating down a river of boiling blood and there was no way out alive. I absolutely would not do anything because anything never went my way. Everything was fucked up and and I was the only one who I blamed. Me and my dumb decisions. I analyzed all the choices I could have made differently to get to a different life right now. I went way, way back. I had the time in that blanket cocoon to think. I was there all day, awake, crying, peeling my nails, alternating my view between dark blankets and rectangular walls. I looked at Zena's painting. I painted this big thing, like a mountain scene on our bedroom wall. I painted a lot when I was pregnant on our bedroom wall. I thought, fool, it's not an imaginary window. It's a fucking wall with paint on it. And your mountains are flawed all over just like you. Insulting myself. I was tired of being pregnant. I was tired of the fact I was pregnant. I was tired of falling into habitual cycles of feeling fat and lazy and being too fat and lazy to do anything about it. I was tired of giving myself out for free. My confidence was low in all areas. I wasn't thinking I'd actually live to see all these kids grow up, and now I had a new baby. This baby deserves better. Someone else was shellfish, I thought. Shellfish. You know what I'm saying. Darkness hit me hard and left blooming bruises of loathing in every thought entering. There was nothing pure or hopeful within view. I could count no blessings. I called myself spoiled and privileged to try to get me out of bed. And then I told myself to go fuck myself. This is my cry. This is my life. This is where I am. I was an unmothered, abandoned child, curled in the only thing that would comfort me, blankets with no pulse and darkness. That familiar feeling of wanting to be buried in the earth crept up and cradled my backbone. I felt vulnerable as a plant just ripped up. I missed the roots. My roots. Did I have roots to miss? I don't remember all that entered and left me that day. Imagine you were really depressed, but it came on hard and severe within one day, and you just woke up that way. I couldn't understand where I fucked up to get me in the situation, why the fuck I was doing it, or how the fuck to get out of it without losing my soul, without damaging someone. At one point, after staring at the same different walls for hours, I was certain that I would die giving birth, and that freaked me out too. What was wrong with me? I couldn't be patient, communicative, or kind to anyone that day, most of all, including Mister, who was by the end of the night walking on glass around me, hurt and clueless about how to give help thanks to my vague and contradictory outcries. That evening, as everyone was settled into their chair, that evening, as everyone was settling into their calm, I proposed to him the plan I had carved into the walls of my mind. I was certain that if I didn't have this baby tonight, I would walk the mountain until I did. My mind imagined myself trekking under the full moon, nothing human but pain to guide me. Amniotic fluid would be dripping down my legs until I finally leaned against a large tree and she, the baby, would come down and I would deliver her. I kept her warm until dawn and then I would die. Wild turkey hunters would hear our baby cry and eventually Mister would claim her. I didn't say my plan was realistic or warm. I wasn't in the right heart space, you remember. I wanted to be the mother octopus who got eaten by her babies as they leave the nest. I wanted to give up. Or maybe I felt I already had. But not on my kids or on my mister, just me. Like I've already given up on me. Giving my life to kids like I always do. And I was round and uncomfortable in every nook of my body. And I didn't feel like I had any more space for this baby. I would obviously explode and die giving myself to them. Obviously. I was full of doubt. Everyone around me was not what I needed. Not my grandma, not Mister, not the sweet smiles of my kids that I knew I loved. Least of all, the friends staying with us. I wanted out of this. I missed myself already, and it has hardly begun. What do you get when your fate is so quickly hurling itself towards you and you're not ready? A freak out sometimes. I freaked out in my brain that whole day and deep, deep into the evening, driving myself and Mister crazy with my sudden depressive bullshit. Your baby is about the size of a small pumpkin. And the next one is birth. And I just want you guys to know that it gets a little better after that. Birth was kind of its whole experience in itself. And that is where I will end today. We are at 53 minutes, so I better wrap up YouTube or Instagram Live. My kids are playing outside, that same kid. You guys, I don't know if you guys are feeling like more sensitive and just in general, but it's like I'm filled with like dread and comfort about that my kids are still okay. Like, I am. So here's where I want to offer my services to you. I'm a book witch. What's up? I'm Jess. I can take us through a journey of creating a journal together. It's called my Book Witch service or Your Mountain Bound Book. You can click the links below. I'm also still looking for subscribers to my channel because I really want to get to 100. That'd be great. So on YouTube, look up Mountain Bound Books and you will find me. I also want to say that I appreciate everyone who showed up today. It was so nice to see my own family. That was nice. And also, I have to burp. And I have more planned. I have more planned for these lives. Next week is really exciting Next week is when I am going live about my 160th day of Kundalini Kriya, which is Sobag Kriya with a little bit of Gaian chakra put in. I'm like 5 days away from completing 160 days. That is something that I never thought I would do, and I want to share with you my results. So meet me on Instagram live next Tuesday at noon Pacific, and I would love to share what I learned from that. So there won't be any voting. No voting. Next week, it's Kundalini Sobha Kriya, and I will share with you the changes in my life and maybe things that didn't change in my life. Thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you next week.